Hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Warships Blitz with Terry. Today we are looking at the cage map in Epicenter mode, because I did want to get back to map tactics videos, and this is one that I'm seeing fairly often, and I think that's relatively well understood, and it's a high tier map, so oftentimes you see people playing this relatively well, but if they don't, then they get absolutely creamed very quickly. So we'll have a look at what you can do with this map. This map has two spawns. I'm in the southeastern spawn at this point, and this map has a relatively interesting feature that we'll start featuring or start focusing on first, and that is the center island. Now this is being Epicenter, so obviously the further in you are controlling, the more points income you have. So this island here in the middle is a relatively perfect position for a destroyer. So mostly what you'll find is that destroyers coming in will try to reach this border here, or if they come from the other flank, if they spawn on the other side, they will try to reach this position here. Why is that such a strong position? Well, you will have the enemy lines within torpedo range. So what you can do as a destroyer is you can hug this island, and then you can poke out, torpedo around here and get back into it. Or you can do the same on the other side. You can poke out, torpedo the enemy lines there, and then poke back into it. And this gives you cover from incoming shell fire, and the island is generally high enough that even things like American light cruisers aren't easily getting across if you're tight on the cliff here on the edge. So what you'll find is that mostly destroyers from in the very beginning, ignore the target destroyer there, that's just there so I can run free in observer mode. But what you'll find is that most destroyers at the beginning are going to sail. So depending on where they're spawning, let's say you were spawning right flank, which would be around here where the actual target ship is. So what you'll see is most destroyers going straight through this line here and trying to reach the center island before they get spotted and before they get shot at. Now, if you're dithering, or if you're a slow destroyer, or if you have no smoke screens to cover you while you're doing this is relatively risky. So the other move that you will see destroyers doing from time to time, especially ships like a Shimakaze, for example, that does not have a smoke screen to disengage from this position if it needs to, you'll find destroyers going around the flanks here. And especially Shimakazes are somewhat notorious for exploring these little islands on the outer sides here. I'm actually just looking at it on the map, because I've never been in this position on this map ever. So this is a terrible position. These outlying islands are they're traps. They're terrible positions for one reason, because you don't have the torpedo range to threaten any parts of the enemy team from here. You don't have, and you don't generate any points income by capturing the rings. And there's no reason for you to be here, because as a destroyer, in most cases, you will be able to sail. Let's say you want to run down this flank here because you're in a stealth destroyer. I'm not saying that you should, but let's say your team controls the circles reasonably well, and you want to get through and start threatening the enemy lines. You can probably go through here at the edge, or maybe even through the outer ring, without necessarily being in trouble or spotted, because you'll be outspotting most of the enemy things. There's really no reason to be on the far side of those islands as a destroyer. And the same goes for the islands on the other side. So if you're a destroyer, you can either go into the center, or you can run around the flank and try to get into a position to dealing with the enemy battleship line. Now, I've mentioned the enemy battleship line a couple of times. So where do you want to be if you're in a battleship? If you're in a battleship, depending on what kind of battleship, you want to be in the rings, but you don't want to be in the center ring. Center ring is not for battleships, especially not early game. There are a couple of good positions that you can take. So if you're spawning on this side here, there's this island, which is a strong bow in position. So if you're a battleship and you're positioning yourself, let's say here, then you'll see that there's a little ledge here and a little bay next to it. So you can use that to defend yourself against any torpedoes. Remember, I said destroyers are going to be around the center island over there in the middle. So any torpedoes coming down this range here, you can defend yourself very well from those. You can, with some ships, shoot actually over this ledge while being parked here. And you're safe from flanking fire from the left flank because you have the island there to shield your ship, which means you're only ever going to take fire from the front and potentially from the right flank if it collapses. But it's a strong left wing position here. You've got the center island, which is a strong center position for two reasons. First of all, you are in the middle ring, which means you are actively helping your team with points income. Again, you can park next to the island, which gives you a relatively decent shielding from the left flank, and it allows you to it gives you range to cover the rear of the enemy team. The enemy battleship line is going to be positioned sort of between these two islands on the other side here. And obviously you have shots open to the right flank in case anything comes down there that needs defending. Now, the right island is not quite ideal, but what you can do, again, in a battleship, is you could park on this side of it and shoot over it, or you could try, and that is a relatively risky forward position. You could try to take this position here, but that's more of a cruiser position. So usually what you'll find is that the battleships are going to be clustered between the two outer lying islands, and are either going to be sitting broadside on, because that happens, or are going to be using the center island for a more aggressive forward position, or the side islands as anchors. But this is usually where you will find the battleship line. And it's the same story of the other side of the map. So let's head over there, and I'll show you the same thing. So you've got the big island there on the right, and you've got the smaller island here on the left. So usually you will find battleships between these two. And you do have that center island for a forward position. So you can be on this side here, and you can threaten. But again, you're open on the right flank, but you're relatively secure on the left flank. Here, this side of the island is not quite as good because it's a little bit flat. But in return, you get this really chunky island over here, which has a very nice incline. So if you look at this bay here, this is a perfect position for a battleship because you can completely shield yourself from any incoming fire from the left side, and you actually bow in towards the right flank. So you can just poke your nose out from here, and you can cover the whole range of the map, and then you can just retreat back into it if you need to, if you're coming under strong fire. So this is a really good position on this side of the map for battleships. But yeah, usually you'll find them in the outer ring or in the middle ring around these positions. So that's your main battle line. And that leaves us with cruisers. So if you're in a cruiser, where do you want to be? So we know two fixed positions at this point. We know the battleship line between the anchor islands, and we know the aggressive destroyer position, which is trying to control the center cup. As a cruiser, your mission generally is to support the friendly team, but also to help your destroyers on this map, because whoever wins the center cup and first of all gets a high points income, and second of all, destroyers in this position here are really dangerous for the battleship line. It's a very strong destroyer position. So getting your own destroyers secured in this position is a very powerful move. Now, what do you do? Because the enemy destroyer is going to be right behind the island. So from the main line, you have no arcs on these things. And that's where the edge and the flanking islands are coming in. I'm not talking about the ones on the outside there. They're useless. But these here. So on this side, you have this island here. And you effectively have the space between this island and the first island on the left here. So from your starting position between this island and this island, if you look at this here, this island position, can look at where the enemy destroyer is going to be. It's going to be right in the center, in a safe position behind the island. But if you can be here, if you can take this position or on this side, you can threaten the enemy destroyer here, whilst being reasonably safe, due to this island, from incoming fire from the enemy battleship line. That makes this island such a strong position, because the map doesn't have the equivalent on the other side. So this island only exists on this side of the map. So being able to take this island as a cruiser allows you to threaten the enemy destroyer positions while still giving you a reasonably safe corner to defend yourself from incoming battleship fire and to retreat behind if need be. So you can retreat here, and if you're wedging yourself in behind the island here, you're absolutely safe from incoming fire from the center battleship line, and somebody needs to take the outer positions to actually threaten you. And that means they are completely out of position if they go there. So this island, the left flank of this map, is the key to playing it, because you can threaten destroyers over there. And if you go to the other side of the map, you do realize that you can't, because the other side of the map, the right flank, does not have an island in the middle. It does have this position here, which is it's one of the forward positions you can take as a cruiser here. But it doesn't give you the same benefit, because if you look from here towards the island, you don't get the angles. You can't threaten the destroyer that is wedged in behind the island effectively. It's more difficult, which means that you would need to sail out into the open. So if you're in this position here and you want to do something about the destroyer, you kind of need to go over here-ish. And now you're sitting out all the way in the open, and you're looking straight at the enemy battleship line, which is looking back on you, goes cruiser, om nom nom, and flattens you out. So the right flank here is much weaker than the left flank. The left flank is the key to this map, in my opinion, and that's why I'm always saying that as a cruiser you should take a mobile position and see where you can. Now you can't rush this flank at the beginning, because enemy battleships might be positioned around this island here, right? So this island on the southern side here guards the left flank. So if you've got a battleship positioning here and a cruiser is coming down this route trying to take this position around the island, well, you kill it. That's you just sail out here, and there you go, perfect flat broadside of that cruiser. So you have to be you can't just rush there at the beginning of the battle. But it depends how the enemy team is defending this flank. And if they have a weak defense on this flank, and you feel you can break through it, you can get a really, really powerful position on this island here that can threaten the enemy destroyer positions in the center. So all of this is just for the opening moves. And usually what will happen is, let's switch to top view to make it a little easier. Usually what will happen is you've got the battleships between the two islands here. They will get into a long-range duel with the battleships between those two islands on this side. You've got the cruisers either in supporting positions around the islands or in flanking positions, trying to break, especially the left side. If they can break the left side, then that's powerful. Or you can play cruiser, especially things like American heavy cruisers. You can play them relatively easily around the center island here as well. Or if you've got light cruisers that can, you can stay behind this island. You can be unspotted, because as long as nobody takes the flanks, if you're behind this island, I'll go back into the free view to show you what I mean. If you're behind that island, either this one where you can be unspotted, because you can be behind it and shoot over it, or the same island diagonal across the map. That's a relatively popular position as well, this one, that's just coming into view there. You see that the ledge here is relatively low, so you can park with most cruisers comfortably behind this ledge, and as long as nobody runs up the flanks, you're reasonably safe either in a bow tanking situation or just being unspotted by shooting across it. So the center positions work for cruisers, but keep an eye on this island here on the right side, and just be aware of how important this island and this flank here is, and make sure that your team covers it. So you've seen this battle already, but I'll do more of a strategic commentary on how this is impacting and relating to what I just said. So this is the battle that I was playing in the Admiral Schröder Epicentre on Cage, and let's go and I'll show you kind of what I was talking about. So we're spawning on the northern side, so I am actually not at the strong position. I'm at the other end. So this is the other flank that I said is actually not as easy to run down because we are sort of parked in this position. Now, usually as a cruise, as a battleship, I would be taking the strong position there next to the island, and but I'm in a sort of super cruiser thing, and I'm just peeking at this edge to see if I can do anything on this flank. Now, this is hugely more risky because I don't have the island, which means I actually need to get to the other side without being, well, completely shot to bits by the enemy battleship line. But let's observe what happens on the other side if you look at the minimap. So one of the enemy destroyers has taken the island position, which is unusual for a destroyer, and one of the cruisers here is anchoring the left flank, which makes sense. And you see there's a cruiser on the other side as well, and both of them are taking the island position. So our left flank is in trouble. Or the western flank on the map. Let's just put it this way: the western flank on the map is in trouble because that cruiser over there is going to have position at the center, and I'm fighting obviously out in the open here. But if you look at the minimap, two of our destroyers, the enemy Småland and the friendly destroyer, are trying to be in the center, but the black has taken a lot of damage because the enemy cruiser has taken the crucial position around the other island. And I'm doing a run here in the open. Now I am threatening the Småland and trying to get him out of the capture circle because he is where I just said he was going to be. The problem is I don't have an island to hide behind, so I actually have to get into a way more aggressive position and actually take one of the enemy team's eastern flank islands, which by all intents and purposes should have gotten me killed because I should not be allowed to do this, no matter which ship I'm in. Generally, pushing this far ahead is a death sentence. But obviously, as you can see, how dangerous I am now for the center cap position. And yes, the enemy team hasn't reacted. The enemy battleship line hasn't reacted, and the Neptune has goofed up in a panic where he could have killed me with single fire torpedoes relatively easily, and has outstayed his welcome here as well. So, and then obviously I would have still died to the Neptune if it wasn't for the Shimakaze playing along perfectly here. As you can see, the Shima is running the flank with me, but it's not running outside the islands. It's running on the inside, where which I said was going to be a strong position. And now the Småland has to evacuate is evacuating the center cap. Our friendly destroyer our gearing is getting in there and is taking the center island and is now in a very strong position to torpedo the enemy battleship line. Plus, we've got the Shimakaze doing the flank run, and I've actually got a second cruiser coming down this route here, whereas the other flank has fallen. And as you can see, what I said was going to happen, the enemy destroyer, the enemy Shimakaze, has been getting around and is now threatening our battleship line. So and both of our cruisers are out of position because the other cruiser in the team is over here, where he should have been, is on the other side. I have forgotten what cruiser that was, but he should have been on the other side, securing the crucial island flank there because it's just so much easier to take out. But he is turning around now. So not all is lost, but yeah, our Shimakaze is now in a key position because I've cleared up the cruisers on this side, and again, this should not have worked by all intents and purposes. If I had gotten killed, the Neptune would have massacred the Shimakaze and we would have lost this battle. So because this should not have worked by all intents and purposes. And as you can see, the enemy Shimakaze is doing exactly the right thing on the other flank. His problem obviously is that now we have the enemy team in a complete crossfire, which means that they can no longer do what's necessary, and their battleship line is getting taken apart by torpedoes. Yeah, the Donskoy should have been on the other side, taking care of the Shimakaze and of the Jinan, which I think didn't go this way. But yeah, there he is, he's down there. But that would have been a much better position on the other side, a much stronger position for the Donskoy to be. But he's realized his mistakes, going back and cleaning up the Shimakaze, which has run around the flank. And yeah, there goes the Shima. And it was actually the Monty that took it out with the secondaries. But as you can see, the Donskoy is returned, and we've won this one. But this is I think this was a good example of how things can go. But just be aware of that southern island there, and what a threat that can be. And to a degree, also the other flank. If you let somebody get through, then they can evict your destroyers from the center cup, and that can collapse your whole line. You need the destroyers in the center to threaten the enemy battleship line. You need your battleships secured, and you need your cruisers to hold the flanks here and clean up the flanks and threaten the enemy destroyers in the center. And that's sort of the key to this battlefield and to this map mode. This works, by the way, if you're playing in center cup mode. This works just the same. It's just that in Epicentre's, holding the central rings gives you a higher point income, but in center cup mode, it's the same story. So it works the same way. Destroyers will take the center. The cruisers threaten from the flanks. Battleships have the firing line that has two tasks: hurt the enemy battleship firing line, but do keep an eye on those flanks and make sure you concentrate your fire if somebody breaks through to prevent them from rolling you up. All right, that's it for me today. I will try to cover a couple more maps in going on. I've still got I think it was the Okinawa map on the list. I just haven't had enough experience with it yet and haven't investigated it well enough yet. But I'll try to make more map tactics videos in this style. And I hope that helps everybody. And have a good day. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.